everybody. Welcome back to Bucks Beat Podcast. This is episode 115. Focus on the Braves and the upcoming All-Star game. And we're going to have Hall of Famer Chipper Jones will be joining me here just a few minutes. But first, wanted to break down where we're at here as far as the Atlanta Braves go. They're back home after a tough road trip up in Philadelphia. Great to get a win in the final game there in Philadelphia. But the Braves are back home for a 7-day, 6-game homestand with the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks coming in. Hope to see you out at Truist Park. Currently, we are 9.5 games back of the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League East, and currently 5.5 games back in the wild card chase. We've lost 6 of our last 8 games, and injuries have started to hit us pretty hard, especially up in Philadelphia. Good news on shortstop Nick Allen, struck by a fastball in the right hand. Looks like he's going to be okay. So that is a big relief, especially with our previous shortstop now playing for the Rockies. So good to see Nick Allen's going to be back out there very soon. Reserve outfielder Stuart Fairchild dislocated his finger, sliding head first. Looks like he's going to be heading to the IL. And the big blow is A.J. Smith-Shawver, who it looked like he had turned the corner as a young pitcher in the show this season. Right elbow, heard it pop. And looks like this could be a season-ending situation. The official news not coming down as we start recording the podcast today, but anticipating it's not going to be good news with his elbow. So just assuming they're going to call up Bryce Elder to fill his spot in the rotation. Right now, looking at the Braves, and as a Braves fan, I know you're all just sort of like me. You're always looking toward the postseason. And right now, looking at the Braves, to get to 85 wins, and I'm going to circle 85. The number 85 was the number we've got to get to earn one of those wild card spots. We've got to go 59-48 the rest of the way this season. So 11 games over 500. 90 wins, we've got to go 64-43 the rest of the way. Speaking of 43, as we go to the air today on the podcast, we are 43 days out from the All-Star game. And what better way to talk All-Star game here in Atlanta this year than to bring on friend Chipper Jones. Speaking of the All-Star game, let's bring on the manager of the Futures National League team in this year's All-Star game, Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. Chipper, we appreciate your time, man. So this Futures game manager situation, man, that sounds like fun. You must be looking forward to this.
I am looking forward to it, Buck. Anything to be a part of, the All-Star game weekend here at home in Atlanta. I just really want to take advantage of it. The last 2 times it was here, guys like Hank Aaron and Chipper Jones hit home runs, in their home ballpark in the All-Star game, and looking for a push from a position player standpoint on this Braves club to be able to make the club and hopefully get that opportunity, a once-in-a-career kind of opportunity to be able to show out in your own ball club. But as far as the Futures game, man, what better way to kind of get to know the next wave of future superstars in the game than to be their manager. And I think I'm just going to, along with my coaching staff, which is a very accomplished coaching staff, we're going to give them every opportunity to kind of showcase themselves, on one of the biggest stages, in pro baseball, and that's All-Star Game weekend.
Yeah, and what better way to be a part of this than have some of your former teammates involved? Tim Hudson, your pitching coach, got Moylan down there handling the bullpen, DeRosa, your bench coach. This makes it even more fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be great to kind of get back in the dugout, get back in uniform with a bunch of guys that I spent a lot of time with. Don't forget Andrew Jones and Nick Markakis will be our hitting coaches. Obviously, one from the right, one from the left. I think these kids will have the ability to sponge off of us for a couple days, and hopefully we can answer some questions for them. Hopefully we can give them some good advice, and above everything else, like I said, just go out, have fun with some of the best minor league players in the game, and strut their stuff.
Yeah, the team has not been named yet, but I'm sure you're scouting them out a little bit.
I've got an idea. Dale Matthews has been great. He's been the one who's kind of introduced me to all this, kind of setting everything up with the rosters and whatnot. So once those rosters are set, Dale will get them to me, and we'll start talking with organizations. We'll start, doing a little scouting, so we know a little bit about these kids before we ever lay eyes on them. But as you well know, from a pitching standpoint, in a game like this, we really have to be cognizant of what each organization wants these kids to do. I mean, one inning, is it 2 innings? Is it, 20 pitches? Is it 30 pitches? All these things have to be taken into account when trying to game plan for the game itself.
Yeah, and Atlanta's stoked about having the All-Star Game back in town. Looking forward to it myself. I know the All-Star Game tickets and Home Run Derby, those are going to be hard to come by, but this Futures Game, still some tickets available out there. I happened to scoop a couple up. Going to take my boys down there and check it out. Looking forward to seeing you as the manager. Let's talk about your All-Star games. You're an 8-time All-Star. Did a little homework here, hit 429, I think, in those 8 All-Star games. Had that home run in 2000 here in Atlanta at Turner Field. I'm guessing one of the highlights for you in your illustrious career was that 2000 All-Star game. What are some of the good memories you shared that couple of days here in Atlanta?
Well, we were in the World Series in 1999, so obviously Bobby and his coaching staff, were very prevalent in our dugout, but we also had some guys have some really good first halves that year. And I could just remember sharing it with so many of my teammates. I think Bobby had me hit second. I believe maybe Barry Larkin was leading off. I was hitting second. Then you had the murderer's row of Vladimir and Sammy Sosa and so on and so on. So, I can remember just being so pumped up because I knew that this was going to be the one time that I got to play in my home ballpark, and having played in a couple of other ones, seeing the ovation and the reception that the home players got from their home crowds just really impressed me. So I wanted to go out and kind of strut my stuff, on the national stage, but wanted to represent the A and the Tomahawk as well as I could. I know I was facing Boomer Wells in the first inning. I think I, got the first hit for the National League, almost took his kneecaps off on a base hit up the middle. And then, like you said, second time facing James Baldwin from the White Sox, got a 2-0 heater kind of down and away. And that was my strength, hit that ball out to left center field. And I can just remember, rounding first base and going, man, just really having the wherewithal to think to myself, that's a career highlight. I mean, this is one of the coolest things that I've ever done in my career. And I've hit, a World Series homer, and I've hit walk-off homers and gotten game-winning hits, but this is one that's certainly in the top 1, 2, or 3 as far as remembering. Then obviously a third at bat, I got a base hit off of Isringhausen. Not too many guys go 3 for 3 in an All-Star game in their home ballpark. So that 3 for 3 was definitely a big part of that 429 average that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and my former teammate in the A-ball, the Florida State League, Andres Scalaraga, Big Cat, also playing first base and hitting behind you. And in that game there. You know, it was tough to hit those home runs in the Florida State League, brother. All those big ballparks down there. Galarraga, he led our team that year, I believe, with 14 home runs during
Well,
that
there
year.
aren't too many. There aren't too many ballparks outside of Yellowstone that he can't go deep in. You know, but like you said, those A ballparks, they're big cavernous ballparks. But not only that, a lot of times that wind plays tricks, blows in a lot in those parks. I never got a chance to play in the Florida State League, but I got a chance to play in all those ballparks in spring training, and there weren't too many what I would call friendly ones down there in the Florida State League. But getting a chance to, like you said, with Andrew, all our pitchers under Galarraga, I'm sure there were a couple other guys that I'm missing on that All-Star team. It was just great to share that opportunity with a bunch of teammates.
Yeah, and right now, you know, wondering how many of the current Braves are going to make this All-Star team. And, you know, I know Chris Sale, a lot of publicity surrounding the start to the season he had. I think, you know, it wasn't him pitching that poorly, a lot of weak contact hits, and I think he adjusted the arm angle. Chris Sale has just been dominant over these last 6 to 8 starts. Fastest now to 2,500 career strikeouts, faster than even Randy Johnson. Doesn't he remind you of Randy Johnson?
Boy, he sure does. And speaking of all-star games, Chris Sale was my last all-star game at bat in Kansas City in 2012. So, yes, he's definitely one of the guys who reminds me probably the most of Randy Johnson. Electric stuff, you know, like you said, much ballyhooed kind of talk with him not pitching Chris Sale like, you know, for the first 5, 6, 7 starts. He's rectified that now. He's back to being the ace. He's back to being the slump stopper. He's back to being the streak extender. You know, everything a guy pitching at the top of the rotation should be. I think you're going to see him before it's all said and done, representing Atlanta in the All-Star game. Still would like to see one of these guys in the middle of the lineup, whether it be Riley, Olsen, or Ozuna, kind of get hot and make a push. I think you saw last night Austin kind of snap out of some stuff. I had seen where he'd gone like 3 weeks without hitting a home run, hadn't done much damage on the side, you know, with his 280 average. But then last night you saw him really kind of get that power stroke back, and let's see if he can carry it through to the All-Star game and maybe get us another Brave in there.
Yeah, I know Machado, you know, continues his great career, but, you know, looking at Riley over the last 2-3 years, I believe, you know, with Machado, the best third baseman in the National League over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Manny. I think Manny's going to probably make a serious push to the Hall of Fame before it's all said and done. Love his swing. Bat stays in the zone a long time. Slick fielder over there at third base. But, man, Austin has really impressed me. The more and more I watch him with his athleticism, a lot of people think, you know, he doesn't, you know, move as well as he does for a big man. He is a big boy, 6'2", 6'3", you know, 230, 240, but he moves a lot better than you would think he does. The range is still there, as you saw him kind of range behind third base a couple nights ago and make an off-balance throw to get a guy at first base. Makes the bare hand play really well coming in. Those are the things you have to do as a third baseman. And then, you know, being able to run the bases, being able to score from first on a double, being able to score, you know, on a short single to left field like he did last night or in the first game to score the first run for us yesterday in the first game of the doubleheader. He moves a lot better than people think. We just got to get him to, you know, kind of level out those peaks and valleys. He's had, you know, some big ones that you saw, you know, last 3 weeks. He doesn't have a home run. Get him to level out those peaks and valleys, get a little more consistent. The numbers will be there at the end of the year.
Chipper, is it too early to be concerned about where the Braves are right now? Lost 6 of 8, even with Strider and Acuña back in there. What would you tell the fan base right now? Be patient.
I think you have to. I think there have been some times to maybe worry. We don't know what the deal is with Smith Shawver right now, and him going on a 60-day DL. Somebody's going to have to come up and really, take his spot. He's pitched really well. A third of the season is not a small sample size, and for us to be hovering at or just under 500 for a third of the season, I don't have a problem saying it's worrisome. That we need to be more consistent, especially offensively. We've gotten some pretty good pitching performances out of the starters, but then the bullpen hasn't been real consistent as well either. So when you're not doing all three phases of the game, pitching, hitting, and playing defense at the same time, you're going to have trouble being consistent. That's why you've seen them struggle to kind of get over the 500 mark. Hopefully that changes. Acuña gets his feet wet, gets Strider back in stride, no pun intended. At the front end of that rotation, and get some consistency out of the bullpen. Hopefully these guys in the middle, I got to believe the back of the baseball card whenever talking about the guys that are in the middle of this lineup, and you just hope that they resemble more of what's on the back of the baseball card than what we've seen thus far.
Yeah, it's been a struggle offensively coming into the year. Most of the analysts and so forth looked at the Braves and thought, okay, that batting order is one of the top three in baseball, but we have really, what surprised me, really struggled against the fastball. I ran across some of the numbers on that, a significant fall off from where we were just a couple of years ago, just abusing fastballs. It seems like we're watching a lot of fastballs in the strike zone. What do you make of all this?
Well, I think most guys are going up there looking for fastball or slider, and I will say this: if you're looking slider and you still swing at fastball, you're in trouble. I would much rather the guys go up and hunt fastball. We're not guessing. I don't like that term, guessing. We are hunting fastball. And then we adjust to the breaking ball. And I know that's easier said than done. When guys are throwing mid to upper 90s and 100 miles an hour nowadays, but I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I got beat by somebody's fastball. If I got fooled on a breaking ball because I was hunting fastball, so be it. That's going to happen every once in a while. But I think in most cases, these guys are probably, because there are so many sliders thrown in the game today as opposed to fastballs, they're probably up there sitting on it. And I would much rather have them, if they are sitting on off speed, not swing at the fastball. That's not my philosophy, though. I want to hunt fastball probably 95% of the time, and then trust your ability to adjust on the breaking stuff.
Makes sense to me. What's the takeaway from Acuña's first 6 games?
Oh, I don't think you could have asked for much more. He, like I said many times, he's been the catalyst for this ball club for years and years. Whenever he's healthy, he's the spark plug. He's the guy that can put you up 1-0 with one pitch in the first inning. He's the guy who can, if you walk him or pitch around him, he'll be standing on second, and giving those guys in the middle opportunities for RBIs. I know a lot's been talked about over the last week or so. A couple people, and myself included, have said, I think that this kid is the most talented player to ever, don a Braves uniform. And that doesn't mean he's the best player. We all know that Hank Aaron is by far the best player who's ever donned a Braves uniform. But this kid's got stuff in his tool belt that, not many people who have ever donned any uniform have in their tool belt. The ability to not only hit for power, but his ability to steal, 50, 60, 70 bases, his cannon for a right arm out there in right field is a weapon, So I stand by my comments. I know Mark DeRosa stands by his comments. Just excited to turn on the TV and be able to watch such a talented player play every single night. I'm glad he's back healthy.
What are your expectations with Spencer Strider the rest of the year? I'm going to be patient. Is what I'm thinking. That the more he pitches, I think Snit said this. The more he pitches, the better he's going to get. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think most people just expected him to jump right back in the rotation and be Spencer Strider again. Yeah. So many guys who come back from a Tommy John-like surgery have a little trouble with feel versus real on, their pitches. They don't quite have that feel for the slider. And you've seen his slider and breaking ball, him have trouble, spiking it, bouncing it, flipping it up there, cement mixer like, the change up, getting the feel for that back. It really takes some time. And I think you've seen him really struggle his first two starts coming off the DL, but the last couple you've seen flashes of that consistency that he's going to need going forward. And, he hasn't gotten the results that he's wanted over the last couple starts, but you can start to see that feel starting to come back. And I think, once he gets a couple more starts under his belt, you're going to start to see the Spencer Strider of old.
Chipper, my concern coming into the year was the bullpen with Jimenez and Mentor getting that ball in these high leverage situations last season. Not going to be available for us this year. We promoted a couple of guys. Right now, looks like the bullpen is the main problem. I'm sure Anthopoulos is looking at that as far as the trade deadline goes. But, I think to me, the million-dollar question, why is Kimbrel not up here yet?
Well, that's a question that's above my pay grade, so I'm not really sure. I haven't talked to the fellas in the front office in a bit, but I'm sure he's going to be here at some point really soon. I feel like he's been, we were asking the same questions about Acuña, a week or two ago. Like, okay, he's getting his reps in AAA. I know when I was on rehab, the second that I realized, hey, I can go out and play defense, I can run the bases, I can swing the bat, I didn't want to be in the minors anymore. I wanted to be in the show. So I'm sure Kimmy's probably chomping at the bit. The big thing is you got to get Iggy back in the swing of things. He has not resembled the dominant force that he was last year, and I don't know that he ever will get to that. That could have been one of those outlier years where just everything fell right for him. But I think you've seen most of the pitches that he's gotten hurt on have been the slider that he hasn't been finishing. It's been finishing in the middle of the plate. Those cement mixers, us hitters love those cement mixers, but his fastball changeup combination is good enough to get big league hitters out as long as he locates. He's not going to go throw it up there 98 to 100 miles an hour. He gets you with location and movement. But he's got to have some help with his high leverage guys in the seventh and eighth inning. You saw Daysbell really struggle yesterday.
Throwing strikes. Needing more strikes.
That's the biggest thing with him. The stuff is there. I'll tell you who I was really impressed with was the Peters. Was it Michael Peterson?
Yeah.
Coming out blowing 98 last night. I was kind of disappointed to see them send him down, but it must be one of those kind of option deals. But I think he could maybe help in some high leverage situations later on down the road, because you got to take some pressure off the guys that are down there now. You run them out there every single night. You get to August and September, those guys are going to be dead. So really got to find some arms, and I think you'll see as we get closer to the trade deadline, to the All-Star break, I think you'll see Alex hopefully work some of his magic and get them some help down there.
Yeah, I think Dylan Dodd looked pretty good too, and so hoping we can get that straightened out. Look, What's that summer looking like for you? You going to check out some of this college baseball? We've got get that underway today as the regionals get underway. You going to check out some of that?
Yeah, normally anything Georgia. I got a bunch of buddies up here that played at Georgia, and I got a buddy actually coming over today to watch some of the softball and baseball regionals and World Series start. Matt Cavender, guy from Parkview High School, played football and baseball there, played first base in Georgia. He's a good buddy of mine. We play golf a lot. So he's going to come over. We're going to check it out. Obviously, I wasn't a huge Florida fan baseball-wise when I was, coming up. They recruited me as a pitcher, not as a position player. So I ended up signing with the University of Miami. Yeah, it's an exciting time for baseball and softball, especially down here in the South, being so well represented in all the regionals and ultimately in both World Series. I'm sure SEC has been, dominant in basketball, now dominant in baseball. We all know that we'll bounce back and be there, for the big dance in football eventually. So, yeah, excited to see what happens. Summer-wise, just a couple trips with the family. Lots of golf, as you know. Smolsey will have me out there at Hawks Ridge trying to get in my pocket. So it'll be a busy summer.
Yeah. Good to see you at the Pollock charity fundraiser golf tournament too, brother.
Yeah.
It's always good.
We always try and scratch each other's back. Obviously, David's huge in the Georgia community and just a really have been praying for him and his wife as she's gone through her battles and whatnot and her health. But just a super guy, man. It's really nice to kind of see him away from the TV type stuff where he kind of lets his hair down and talks shop with everybody. So really fun guy. We try and scratch each other's back at our charity tournaments and whatnot. Didn't want to miss that one out at what was that, Athens Country Club, I believe it was.
Yeah, the Georgia Club, they call it.
Georgia Club. There you go. So I'm going to probably do that every year.
Always good to see you around town, man. Look forward to bumping into you soon, brother. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure, bud. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Always great to spend some time with Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. He's always been good to me, and I certainly appreciate that. I want to remind you, the new Buck Belue Show, when the Braves aren't playing at 7, we are Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 on 680 The Fan. So don't forget that. And also, not only in prime time now, but also expect to hear the Buck Belue Saturday shows on Saturday from 9 to noon. Hope you'll be joining me for that, too. That's going to do it for this episode of Bucks Beat. We'll talk to you again next week.